Robbie, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
This is so amazing, so good to see you.
Oh, well, I'm excited to have you here, not only because you're my fantastic dentist, but because you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the teeth. I've got lots of questions about the face for you as well. But what I'd love to start with is just asking you a little bit about why you got into dentistry. Where was your passion? Where did it start?
So in school I was always really good at science. I loved going to see my own dentist. My own dentist was so nice. Really enjoyed visits to the dentist. And I wasn't sure, like, do I do medicine? Do I do dentistry? Got on so well with my dentist, and I did medical work experience. And I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought, which was really disappointing. And I was like, I'll do a couple, I said to my dentist, she's like, come spend a couple of days work experience with me. And I literally just had like the best time, and that was in July. I applied in the October, and then the next year went into dentistry.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really good. It was such a and his style of dentistry is something that I try to build into like my own style of dentistry, and hopefully you and I have seen that, and I try to make it like a good experience. It's no demon dentist, to coin, David Williams' book, and we try and build a nice rapport. So yeah.
Well, you certainly do, and I'm quite new to coming to you actually, because I've used various dentists in the past, but your dental practice was recommended to me by somebody, and then I came along to see you, and I mean, it's been a great experience for me. And actually what I've had in terms of sort of cosmetic dentistry, and I've had my two front teeth obviously done as Veneers, and then we did some composite bonding, didn't we, either side and just at the bottom, because we were weighing up the sort of Invisalign versus doing that, and there's pros and cons to both, really, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Why do people sort of pick the Invisalign versus going Veneers and bonding, and vice versa? What's usually the path and the reason that people go down those paths?
So there's advantages and disadvantages of both. Certainly the Invisalign is good, because what that allows us to do is it allows us to move the teeth, and move your own teeth to where they need to be. And then from there, if you've got the right shape of teeth, we can make them look how you want them to look with whitening and things like that. But it takes time, and it's something that you do have to wear. They are so much more discreet than train track braces, that lots of people had when they were teenagers, but they are still visible, and they do take time. And of course, if you've got a busy life, then that can be tricky. If your teeth are near enough perfect, but you just need a little bit just to get them to where they need to be, then a bit of composite bonding, which is where we add white resin to your teeth to change the shape of them, and do very little, if any, removal of tooth tissue to get them, to get them the perfect shape, the perfect colour. That works really well. Do you mind if I discuss your particular case?
Please do. Yeah.
So with your teeth, so the type of veneers that I provide isn't the veneers that you see in the media, where you're drilling teeth down to pegs, which is, would be more of what we call a crown, and sometimes is needed. But of course, for cosmetic reasons, we don't tend to provide those type of veneers. We provide veneers where we only remove a very, very small amount of tooth tissue off the front, off the top, and then the veneer is a bit of ceramic that's made by the laboratory, a ceramist, that glues onto the front of the teeth to give you that shape that you want. We were really lucky with your teeth in that your front two teeth were pushed back, so we could remove even less of it, or conserve more of your tooth tissue, to make it as healthy for your teeth as we could, but also give you a really lovely result. And it's so good seeing you today, because they look amazing.
I know. I'm really excited about it. And as everybody watching and listening knows, I've never gone down any sort of cosmetic route. So the only thing, it's funny because I did a podcast a few months ago talking about 5 things that might surprise people about me. And one of the things I said is my 2 front teeth are actually fake, which is, because everything I do is so natural. But actually, when it comes to the teeth, it's not like I can do face yoga and change my teeth shape, So actually, if you want to do something, you have to go slightly down the cosmetic route. And it's not like I'm doing anything that's massively invasive or big surgery or anything like that. But for me, I've really loved the results of it, because it still looks really natural. you know, I've not got super gleaming, bright, shiny white teeth that look like they're really sort of fake. You know, they're a really, really natural look. So, you know, I've been thrilled by them.
Well, that's what we look for. You know, it's like a discussion that we had, and you know, and it was trying to gauge, you know, what you wanted. You know, and you know, you're all about being natural, and you know, and celebrating, you know what you have, you know. So keeping it natural is really, really important, and that we can do. Sometimes people want things that look more fake or more square, and we can work together to give those appearances if people want as well. But no, I think we've done that. You know, within our aims, getting you something that looks lovely, but natural.
Definitely. And one of the concerns I had about Invisalign was I have always, since I was very little, had slight issues with TMJ. So it's never been a major thing, but I do find I can get a tightness here, you know, more can be prone to headaches. I've got slight sort of asymmetry of the mouth area, and I can find that things can get a little bit jammed up. Now, since, of course, I've done face yoga, so particularly since I've been doing a lot of massage for the face and I've worked with the muscles, help them get more symmetry, I don't get any problems. So it's not like I'm suffering day to day through TMJ, but I was just a little bit wary just to make too much changes with something like braces or Invisalign, just in case that triggered any issues, you know, that I'd had before. And I know that I get a lot of questions actually from people about TMJ, so I would love to ask you a little bit about it. First of all, maybe if you'd like to explain a little bit of what actually TMJ is, and then what you see when your patients come in when it comes to TMJ, and anything that you recommend for them.
Yeah, so you know, as you say there, you know, and it's so amazing to see the work that you do in terms of face massage and things like that. Does really help with TMJ. For those that don't know what TMJ is, TMJ stands for our temporomandibular joint. So it's the jaw joint in front of our ears. I'll just look at the camera to do that one. But that's just the joint that slides back and forth on a cartilage disc where our jaw meets our skull. But our jaw is really, really complex, and it's got loads of muscles that are above our ears and, you know, down our face and along the two main ones on either side. But they've got lots of other muscles as well, and it's a complex muscle that is really hard to rest. If you pull a hamstring or something like that, someone says don't go out running. If you've got TMJ dysfunction or disorder, then you can't relax those muscles, you know, and you need to manage it with soft foods, with heat and physiotherapy. So the massages and the exercises that you do, and they're so helpful in managing that. So much of it we see is because of stress. And in the news, you know, there has been a big increase in stress, you know, when people working from home and their posture because of COVID, and a big increase in tooth grinding, and, you know, all things that can affect TMJ and cause that stress. It can cause headaches, it can cause tenderness of that joint. So that's TMJ, and there's lots of things that can be managed. In dental practice, lots of that resolves around, as we say, conservative, you know, measures and how that can be managed at home. From there, we can look at little protective guards that are worn at night, and that sort of tries to help you break the habit. And then there's more complex treatments that can be seen with a specialist as well. Fortunately, we didn't need to discuss any of that in your case. No. In terms of how the jaw joint links back to the Invisalign. Invisalign are little plastic trays that you wear over your teeth, and they're over the biting surfaces. They're about 1 millimetre thick on the top and bottom teeth. So even though it's a really low risk of causing any problems in terms of that jaw joint, introducing those little changes in a joint that's caused problems for so long that you finally got under control, I totally understand why for you that wasn't the best option, because you wanted to keep everything at equilibrium. You know, it's perfectly managed, you kept your bite the same, and it was just working around the confines of your mouth and the space that we had without changing too much, and keeping it as minimally invasive as possible.
Absolutely, and it's really interesting. The more I've learned over the years about TMJ, the more I'm able to spot why I suffered from it for so many years. I mean, I think some of it is literally down to how you're born. I mean, sometimes you can be born a certain way, and other times it can be gradually as you're a child. Things like becoming a mouth breather, you know, that can affect how everything is is developing, and lots and lots of reasons. Stress, as you say, you know, people sometimes are developing TMJ much later on in life because, like you say, you know, maybe their posture's changing and they're tensing this area, and sometimes it can go into full jaw lock as well, can't it, for people, which is, you know, which is just awful and such a shame. But really interesting to know, you know, there are things that you can do from a dental point of view, but actually, you know, like the facial massage and looking at your posture and all of that can really help as well. And I can imagine, actually, even though I didn't go down the route of Invisalign, I can imagine Invisalign in some cases may actually have the effect of aligning things up for people with TMJ. So for some people, maybe it might aggravate it, but other people, I can imagine maybe it would help it.
So in terms of looking at the evidence, you know, we wouldn't necessarily say to people, you know, go for Invisalign because you've got TMJ.
Yeah.
So there's no like big high level studies. It's such a big study to do and very difficult to record. But at the same time, having something that fits together and fits together well, not having a slant or an overbite, you know, when you bite together, and having something that fits together perfectly does seem to make sense that it would be more comfortable for your jaw.
Absolutely. And something which I get asked a lot about as well is remedies for teeth grinding. So I'm often recommending, again, facial massage, relaxation, looking at posture, even sort of working on acupressure points around the jaw and the ear area, which all really, really help people. Why do people tend to teeth grind? What's the biggest cause of that?
I think stress. So anecdotally, I have a big crop of patients that, you know, will come to see me for the first time, or will generally have excellent mouths and will not have a single filling in their head. And they'll come to see me, you know, when they're 19, 20, you know, maybe a little bit earlier. Oh, I've got all this pain in my jaw and I'm not sure what's happening. And, you know, I've got my final exam for university in 2 days' time. And you say, they have a little feel of the joints and they feel knotted, you know, and they're tender as soon as you touch that muscle, and you say, your teeth look perfect, you're clenching together and you've bruised the little ligaments in which your teeth sit, and then you can get that tenderness in the teeth. So stress is a big factor. We tend to say exam time, moving house, going on holiday, and then, you know, there's life events, getting married, getting divorced. You know, they're all big factors in terms of why we grind our teeth. Sometimes it is a habit, you know, and some people clench and they move their teeth into a posture. But yeah, they're the main reasons. But once you find that you do it, it might well be, I know I can grind my teeth when I'm sat in Bath rush hour traffic.
Yeah. You know your trigger.
Yeah. And I'm aware, oh no, goodness me, I'm grinding my teeth as I'm sat at the light. And then I stop, and then I don't have TMJ problems.
Yeah, really interesting. And how can you tell someone's ground their teeth? Do you look at the back of the teeth and it's literally worn down? Is that usually the biggest indication?
Yeah, so the third teeth, which are our canine teeth, or our eye teeth, rather than being pointed, you quite often see those look flattened off, where they've been running over each other, and they're the ones that take the force first. Yeah. And teeth grinding it starts off, you know, as something that can be a little bit uncomfortable to the jaw. But undiagnosed, once you grind down your canine teeth, which are like the shock absorber teeth in your mouth, then what it can do is you rather grind on, instead of grinding on your canine teeth, you grind on all of your teeth, and they all grind over each other. And then you can start knocking fillings out, you can grind down your front teeth. And it happens slowly but surely. And all of a sudden, I'm having a chat with somebody in their 50s and their 60s, and they say, Rob, I don't show any teeth in my smile, because they've ground them down to stumps, you know, and you've been embarrassed of their smile, they haven't wanted to go to the dentist, you know, they've ignored it, and now all of a sudden it's so much more difficult to manage, but from a dental point of view, and also stopping that habit.
Wow.
So it's big.
It's really big, and can affect people, I imagine, psychologically as well, you know, because if you're holding that tension, but also if your teeth have literally ground down, it can really, you know, affect your confidence and everything, I imagine. So yeah, I'm super interested. And also, if people have had fillings, does that affect whether they grind their teeth or not, or would that make no difference? You know, is it related in any way, or not really?
As far as I'm aware, you'd be unlikely to grind. You know, fillings wouldn't start off the grinding habit. It would be something that you do when you're prone to, and then your fillings could knock out because you grind, as opposed to the other way around. So that's something that we always assess if we're ever going to do like composite bonding or veneers. Are you a tooth grinder?
Yeah.
You know, is our work going to be safe? Is it going to last? You know, we have a look to see those key signs like the flattening of the teeth, which is really important.
Right.
And it can have such a big effect, as you say, you know, on long-term confidence. People not wanting to smile, you know, and you do so much with the face yoga and to help reduce aging, and that helps reduce aging as well, you know, spotting this early.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And does your bite affect TMJ and teeth grinding? Because obviously I've got an overbite, as you know. Some people have an underbite, some people have a perfect bite, don't they?
Yeah.
So do you notice more people with an overbite like myself would be more prone to something like TMJ? As far as I know, I'm not a teeth grinder, am I? I don't think I know. I don't think I grind my teeth, but definitely prone to the TMJ, although because it's managed, it doesn't give me issues.
So asymmetry, you know, can be something that affects. In terms of your teeth, as I said, it's not really any high level evidence that we can fall back on and say, you know, this is a really clear link between the two. But it's something that, you know, that we keep an eye on, and certainly, as you say, having a perfect bite certainly sounds like something that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We know that having a perfect bite means that our teeth are more efficient and there's less wear going into certain bites. So they're being worn down at a more reasonable rate than if all the force was just in a couple of areas.
Interesting. And something which I've been doing a lot of reading into recently, and I've been speaking to some experts in it, is our tongue posture. And I don't know if that's something that you've ever sort of delved into or you talk to patients about. But actually, I've noticed, particularly in children, it can be actually a weaker tongue posture can affect the way that their mouth develops, can affect our breathing, can maybe have impacts on things like TMJ. Have you come across this with our sort of tongue posture?
Not the tongue posture, but what you tell me there makes a lot of sense in terms of you know, the mouth breathing and the posture and how things grow. For example, we know that thumb sucking, you know, having that thumb there all the time, or the use of a dummy can, for prolonged periods, can encourage the growth of the actual jaw to have that gap at the front. You know, which is why we're so keen to do a trade with the dummy fairy for youngsters, or to try and stop sucking thumbs, which of course is so much. Any of your listeners that have, you know, have got a kid that's sucking their thumb, you know, knows how tricky that can be. You know, and,
I mean, I was a thumb sucker, and interestingly, whether that affected me getting then an overbite. And I gave both my girls actually a dummy. I didn't want to give them anything, but I gave them dummy because you can actually then take that away at a certain point. Whereas the thumb is so much more difficult, isn't it? And some children, you know, I know, suck their thumbs until much later on in their childhood, which can sort of really affect things. But another thing I was really sort of just interested in was something that people ask me a lot when it comes to the teeth is, where can they just get started to know how they can improve their teeth? But just maybe people haven't got a huge amount of money that they want to spend on you know, perhaps getting a full teeth of veneers or full set of veneers or something like that. Where would be sort of step number one? If someone is thinking, okay, I'd like to boost my confidence a little bit, I would like to improve my teeth slightly, what sort of options do people have?
So I think the starter options is a visit to the hygienist. You know, making sure that your own teeth, without doing anything to them, look as good as they can be. You know, making sure that you don't have that stain, making sure you don't have that plaque build-up, making sure your gums look as healthy as possible. And then that's great from both a cosmetics point of view, but also a health point of view. And so that'd be my number one, making sure that health always comes first.
And how often to the hygienist do you recommend?
It varies from person to person.
Okay.
Some of our patients would see the hygienist every 3 months. Some of our patients might be once a year, maybe once every 2 years. So we look at it on a risk-based category. So if you smoke, you know, if you get a lot of staining, if you've got gum disease, we want to see you a lot more frequently than someone that brushes their teeth fantastically well and there's not a bit of plaque in sight.
Yeah. I don't think I've done a hygienist for about 2 or 3 years, actually. Maybe I should.
There was no hints there, no hints. Generally look fantastic. From there, you know there's no plaque build-up on your teeth, you know there's no tartar build-up on your teeth. And whitening is a really safe, and whitening done at a dentist, not something that's done in a back street.
Whitening or at home. A lot of people do it at home, don't they?
But no, whitening done at the dentist is a really safe way of just, having what you've got and improving it, and that whitening isn't, it is safe. We make bespoke trays to you that fit your teeth perfectly, and the whitening gel is kept on the teeth to make them look as good as they can do. And the costs for that, throughout the country are relatively reasonable compared to full smile makeovers. Composite bonding, again, is something that can just give you little tweaks, and then we work up from there.
Brilliant, that sounds great. My final question is just wanting to know a little bit about how you look after yourself from a wellness point of view. So do you have any sort of wellness routines or fitness routines or anything you do? Because I know you're super busy and you spend a lot of your time looking after other people. So I imagine you have to put some time and effort into looking after yourself, to look after your stress levels and your wellness as well.
So away from work, I actually do a lot of indoor climbing. During lockdown, it became a lot of outdoor climbing as well.
Oh, wow.
So I like to do climbing. It does mean that my fingers are super strong, from holding those dental instruments and holding those little nooks and crannies. But yeah, that's how I unwind. I think I love the problem solving of like the wall as well, and seeing how we go. So
interesting. So it's dentistry that way, the problem solving.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that interesting?
I think that's why I like it. The fitness and the problem solving together.
That's amazing. That's super cool. How often do you do that?
So I was doing it, pre being a dad, 4 times a week. Now slightly less. I've only really got time for twice a week now.
That's so lovely. How old's your little one?
14 months.
Oh wow! So still a little boy or girl?
Girl. Girl. So yeah, she's doing really well. Somewhat embarrassingly, her top front teeth came through after her second teeth.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
so second teeth, you mean the side teeth?
Yeah, so her side teeth came through before her front ones. Yeah. And I'm looking, thinking, I'm a dentist. I can't have a daughter that's that if she just doesn't have front teeth, people are going to think that they were rotten. I have to take them out at 14 months or something. But no, she's all through and she's all back on track. But it just goes to show, it's I know you've got kids yourself, Danielle, but you read, about all these, baby books and what should be happening, and I'd be really worried, if I was Googling when did the teeth come through. But we know that all kids are different, and there'll be non-dental ones that will, that people will be, my kid did this really late, but we're really early doing that, so. That's
the downside about having knowledge about something, because when you have the knowledge, you then start panicking. I mean, I'm like that with my daughters with certain things, like health and wellness and that. And you realise sometimes you're putting on your knowledge to them, not just letting them be, so it's like super interesting. So if people, of course, that are listening that live in Bath, because that's where you and your dental practices are based, they want to know more about where you are. Do you have a website, Instagram? Can you share that with everyone?
So we're Bath Spa Dentistry, and that's our practice website, and that provides a little bit more information about us and where we're based. But I've also got a Instagram account. It's Dr. Robbie Thompson, and feel free if you've ever got any questions to send those across to into the DMs, and I can hopefully give you as much advice as I can, without being able to, of course, see your mouth.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Robbie. What an informative chat. Really appreciate it.
It's so lovely to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.